Hey out there, Bulbasaur fans, Professor Bulba here, ready to bring you one unique fact about each and every Pokemon. Bulbasaur's Japanese name, Fushigi-dane, literally means "isn't it strange?", which is also a pun on mysterious bulb.
Bulbasaur.
Ivysaur's Japanese name, Fushigi-soyu, can be taken to mean "it seems strange" or "strange grass". Venusaur's Japanese name is Fushigi-bana. And of course, this was a pun on Fushigi Nahana, translating to, "it's a strange flower." So altogether, it goes, "Isn't it strange?"
It seems strange.
It's a strange flower. And just for fun, according to the Pokemon manga, Venusaur can close its bulb.
No, that is not a Bulbasaur. Look closely.
Due to the original design of Charmander's having spiny processes sticking out of its back, fans have speculated it is related to Cubo. However, no official connection has ever been confirmed. So far. Probably ever. Charmeleon, its evolutions, Flareon, Moltres, and Infernape are all the same species and are known as the Flame Pokemon. Charizard could not legitimately learn the HM Fly until Pokemon Yellow and onward. So in Generation 1, nope, couldn't fly. Although its name is most likely a combination of Squirt and Turtle,
Squirtle.
Some fans have speculated that its name is a mix of Squirrel and Turtle and support this based on its squirrel-like looking tail.
Squirtle.
Wartortles, according to the Diamond and Pearl Pokedex entries, are said to live for 10,000 years. We learn in the anime that Gary chose Squirtle as a starter.
Too good for ya? I knew it.
This is known because he uses Blastoise to fight Ash in the Pokemon League. Caterpie's Pokedex entry mentioning releasing a horrible stench from its antenna is reference to the real-life caterpillar it is based off of and its foul-smelling organ, or antenna, known as an osmeterium. Metapod is usually depicted with a white sclera, such as in the games, trading cards, and promotional illustrations, but it has been yellow in the anime. According to Ash's Pokedex, Butterfree. 1 week after Caterpie evolves into Metapod, it again evolves into Butterfree. This explains how Metapod are able to evolve in the wild without battling, because, as we've seen in the anime, it doesn't really battle. Well, it battles, just sucks. Although Weedle appears to be yellow, its color, according to the Pokedex, is actually more closer to brown. In a few instances, Kakuna has been depicted as having movable appendages. Despite having put a whole forest of Beedrill asleep in episode 4, Ash decides not to catch a single one of them. So much for catching them all. Pidgey's Crystal Pokedex entry states, "It rapidly flaps its wings in the grass, stirring up dust clouds that drives insects' prey into the open," suggesting that 1, there are insects in the Pokemon world aside from Pokemon, and 2, Pokemon do eat living organisms. Pidgeotto's Fire Red Pokedex entry states, "The claws on its feet are well developed. It can carry prey such as Execute to its nest over 60 miles away," suggesting again that Pokemon eat other Pokemon.
According to Pidgeot's Fire Red Dex entry,
"When hunting, it skims the surface of water at high speeds to pick up unwary prey such as Magikarp." Yeah, it's been confirmed. It's a Pokemon eat Pokemon world out there. Youngster Joey and his top percentile Rattata, or Rattata, however you want to say it, are well known in the Pokemon fandom for calling you out of nowhere and to brag about his Pokemon. Oddly enough, even though his Pokemon evolves, he still refers to it as Rattata over the phone. Raticate's Pokedex number is 20, which is also the level it evolves at. So far, Raticate is the only Pokemon to hold this nifty number neatness. Spearow's Japanese name is Oni Suzumi, which is a combination of Oni, demon, and Suzumi, meaning sparrow. Spearow's Japanese name is Onidrill, which is a combination of Oni, demon, and, well, drill. In its original artwork, Ekans had several yellow lines through its body, but in the game and anime, it appears to have lost it. Arbok's Emerald Dex entry states, "This Pokemon has a terrifically strong constricting power. Once it wraps its body around its foe, escaping is impossible." And by impossible, they surely mean 2 to 5 turns. Pika Pika! Pikachu once touched a Thunderstone and didn't evolve. Raichu was depicted riding on its own tail to surf in Pokemon Stadium long before its alternative form came to be. Sandshrew goes through a major spray change from Generation 1 to 2, and then what seems to be stabilized Generation 3 onward. Sandslash's original name in English was going to be Sandstorm. But what's better is its Japanese name of Sandpan. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Mr. Sandpan. Yes. Bring me a dream. Bum 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 bum. I want a shiny, one perfect IV. Bum bum bum. Nidoran females lose their horn when they evolve. Nidorina loses its ability to breed after it evolves. Although depicted that there are baby Nidoqueen in the movie Mewtwo Returns, that is incorrect for several reasons. 1. Nidoqueen can't breed. 2. The babies would be Nidoran of either gender. And 3. They would need moonstones. When Nidoran male breed with a Ditto, it can come out as either gender. An early version of Nidorino was featured on the original Capsule Monsters covers,
fighting the ugliest Gengar I've ever seen.
Nidoking's shiny sprite
looks like a drag queen.
However, a shiny Nidoqueen does not share the opposite, which would be Nidoking. Before the fairy type attribute existed, Clefairy was a fairy based on its species type. In the Pocket Monster manga, Clefable was able to de-evolve by eating several moonstones and making silly faces. According to the Pokedex, Vulpix is born, but with one tail, and they split as they age. Ninetales was spelled tails rather than tails as a reference to the 9 sages that were reincarnated into this Pokemon. Unbeknownst to most, the Jigglypuff in the anime was actually a shiny. Look at a normal Jigglypuff versus a shiny Jigglypuff. The difference is in the eyes. Both Jigglypuff and Wigglytuff are known as the balloon Pokemon, which makes sense when you read Wigglytuff's dex entry for Sapphire. By inhaling deeply, this Pokemon can inflate itself seemingly without end. This also explains Jigglypuff's special in Super Smash Bros. 4. According to Pokemon Stadium, Zubats do not have eyes or noses. According to the Fire Red Pokedex entry, it clamps down on its prey with needle-sharp fangs and drains over 10 ounces of blood in one gulp. That's about 30 cc's or 30 milliliters worth of fluid. Oddish has a scientific name, which is Odium wanderus. This is given to it in the Fire Red Pokedex. Gloom, although depicted like Zubat in not having eyes, in fact does. Vileplume, according to its Sapphire Pokedex entry, Vileplume has the world's largest petals. They are used to attract prey that are then doused with toxic spores. Once the prey are immobilized, this Pokemon catches and devours them. Can you imagine being fully aware as you were devoured whole? Yikes. In the anime, it was depicted that Paris can easily detach the parasitic mushroom on its back. Parasect's sprite colors seem to change over the generations. Despite all the controversy and endless videos on Venonat versus Butterfree, there is no conclusive evidence to suggest that one was meant to be the other or that they're related other than correlation. And as we all know, correlation does not prove causation. Venomoth, in its early official artwork, had yellow spots on the back of its wings. This was later removed in further generations. Also, in Generation 1, Red and Blue, the bottom part of its body was more circular than the sprites now depict. If Diglett gets a new form in one of the games or somewhere hidden in the game data, it should be just feet. Having said that, in Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, it was revealed that Diglett does in fact have feet. In Generation 2, the Ground Around Dug trio would change color if it was shiny. This has not been the case since Generation 3 onward. Meowth seems to be based on the Japanese legends of Maneki Neko.
That's right!
Maneki Neko are often used as charms in restaurants and shops to bring customers good fortune or good luck. Ever wonder the significance behind Giovanni and Persian? Persian is known as the classy cat Pokemon and holds a gem on its forehead. Basically, it demonstrates that the boss has a taste for the finer things in life. Sorry, Meowth. In the anime, Misty Psyduck caught itself. Golduck's shiny sprite took a radical change in variation. In Generation 2, it went from having a darker form in its normal state and a lighter shiny form to exactly the opposite in Generation 6. Now it's darker when shiny. Mankey first appeared in the trading card game for the Fossil expansion with its well-known picture. But in Japan, with the release of How He Became a Pokemon card in May of 1999, this kick-ass variation of Mankey came out. It looks like a bunch of Mankeys working up the courage to steal apples. way better card. Even though Primeape doesn't have a tail, it can still learn how to use Iron Tail. Ugh, well my mind just went to the gutter. Growlithe, despite having orange fur, is categorized as brown in the Pokedex. Much controversy exists around Arcanine and its status of legendary. Its species name is legendary, and in the second episode of the anime, when Ash is looking at a stone tablet of the 3 legendary birds, Arcanine is also there. However, based on its Pokedex entries, it would seem it was seen as a legendary based on its speed, rather than being a legendary based on being rare or scarce. Satoshi Tajiri, the creator of Pokemon's favorite Pokemon is Poliwag. Poliwhirl has a great inconsistency with how its hands are drawn. In some sprites, it shows it having fingers, but in others, it appears to be more like a glove. This glove, or mitten-like state, has stayed since Pokemon Emerald onward. Poliwrath's Gold Dex entry mentions a real-life geographical location. This strong and skilled swimmer is even capable of crossing the Pacific Ocean just by kicking. Abra's Japanese name is Casey, in reference to Edgar Casey, whom was known as the Sleeping Prophet. If you look at Abra's Dex entry, it states it sleeps for 18 hours a day. And, to no coincidence, the birthday of Edgar
is March 18th.
See, these are the neat things we're missing with translations. To prevent future litigations of
Some weird guy who claims to have powers.
this guy, no further Pokemon cards of Kadabra were made. Help fix the issue with getting an Alakazam onto the battlefield, and Abra with the ability to evolve directly into Alakazam was made.
Alakazam!
Its yellow entry reads, a Pokemon that can memorize anything. It never forgets what it learns. That's why this Pokemon is smart. Okay, first of all, I love how it has to explain at the end, this is why the Pokemon is smart. Like, as if you couldn't piece the puzzle together. And second of all, if it never forgets anything, why can it only remember 4 moves? Ooh, shots fired.
Alakazam!
Machop has a tail that is lost during evolution. Also, though not an official fact, the very first time I saw it playing Pokemon Blue, I definitely thought it was a rock type like Geodude, and I was hella confused as to why grass wasn't super effective against it. Machoke has a gender ratio of 75% male and 25% female. That's right, there is a 1 in 4 chance that the shirtless Machoke you're looking at is indeed female. In Generation 1, Machamp only had 4 fingers, which later changed to 5 in Generation 2 onward. Bellsprout's Ruby and Sapphire Dex entry states, a Bellsprout's thin and flexible body lets it bend and sway to avoid any attack, however strong it may be. From its mouth it leaks a fluid that melts down iron. Despite that, Steel-type Pokemon are immune to poison. Even Steelix, who is the Iron Snake Pokemon.
Boo, boo.
Most Pokemon have a footprint in the Pokedex, but not Weepinbell. Perhaps because it has no feet and floats instead. Victory Bell's anime cry fits in perfectly, replacing the high note at the end of the song. Tentacool's original English name was to be Jilly, which is nowhere near as cool as it is now. According to multiple Pokedex entries,
Tentacool
has 80 tentacles. I've seen enough hentai to know where those are not going. Anywhere near me.
Geodude.
A shiny Geodude looks like gold. However, upon evolution, it looks more like Dude. In Pokemon Red and Blue, Graveler only has 2 arms. Generation 2 onward, Graveler then has 4. Although in Generation 1 it can learn Fissure through TM27, it's practically useless because if its speed is lower than the opposing Pokemon, which, come on, it would be, it automatically misses. According to its Stadium Pokemon Dex entry, it can jump over the Eiffel Tower in 1 leap. That's over 324 meters. For comparison's sake, the Empire State Building is 381 meters tall. I'd just be impressed if it could jump over the Leaning Tower at Pisa, which is just 57 meters tall. In the Japanese version of Pokemon Stadium, its Pokedex entry reads that Ponyta can jump over the Tokyo Tower instead of mentioning the Eiffel Tower, which is an impressive 333 meters tall. That's regionalization for you. According to its Pokedex entry, Rapidash can run at 150 miles per hour, which is over 3 times as fast as a well-bred racehorse at between 40 to 45 miles per hour. Next time I go to a car dealership and look at cars, I'm gonna ask how much Rapidash power it has. Slowpoke in the 17th Japanese episode was depicted as having a fish on its tail that looked just like Basculin. According to Slowbro's Pokemon Gold Dex entry, if the tail-biting Shellder is thrown off from a harsh battle, it reverts back to being an ordinary Slowpoke. Which means, aside from Mega Evolutions, Pokemon can de-evolve. Or maybe this is a special circumstance. But then it's like, what happens to the shell? Does that revert too? Nah, this is giving me more questions than it is facts. Despite having the ability to defy gravity and fly, Magnemite has a footprint, and surprisingly, it is the shape of one of its screws, which appears to be on the front side of it. So does it walk face down? Magneton's Fossil Pokemon Edition card mistakenly refers to the plural of Magnemite as Magnemites. In Japan, Farfetch'd name literally translates to a duck coming bearing green onions. As a saying, it means something surprising, but convenient. The joke is here that because if a duck comes bearing an onion, you have an onion for the duck to cook with. You're cooking a duck with onion. Why are people so confused by this? Despite not having wings, Doduo can learn both Fly and Steel Wing. According to the Sapphire Pokedex entry, apparently the heads aren't the only part of the body that Doduo has 3 of. It has 3 sets of hearts and lungs as well, so it is capable of running long distances without rest. Kinda makes you wonder, what else does it have 3 of? If you know what I mean. Seel's weight is a whopping 198.4 pounds. That's 90 kilograms. That's pretty impressive when you think that it's only 3'7". Thick, fat, indeed. Dugong is my favorite Pokemon. Straight up, no particular reason. I like the way it sounds. It's awesome. It definitely does need a Mega Evolution. That's the fact, by the way. That's my favorite Pokemon. Deal with it. According to its Diamond and Pearl Dex entry, Sludge plus Dirty Stream plus Moon's X-Ray equals Grimer. Check out this card from the fossil set of the Pokemon trading card games. Although this Pokemon is level 34, Grimer does not evolve into Muck until level 38. Must be those Moon X-Rays. Shellder has the same body type as Ghastly, which only further adds to the speculation that inside of a Shellder is just a Ghastly. Believe it or not, there is a fighting type Cloyster in the Pokemon trading card games released in the EX Dragon Frontier expansion. Despite the main part of Ghastly's body being black, it is categorized as purple in the Pokedex. Despite being half poison type, Haunter and its evolutionary line does not learn any poison type moves by leveling up. Bizarre. Gengar's giant grin is thought to be inspired by this freaky cat from Alice in Wonderland. Onix is the tallest non-evolved Pokemon, staying at 8.8 meters or over 28 feet tall.
Actually no, Gen 7 brought a taller hunk of steel.
In episode 27 of the anime, Ash's Pokedex says,
Drowsy, said to be a descendant of the dream-eating tapir.
Making a direct reference to a real-life animal, giving support to the notion that real-life animals do exist alongside Pokemon. Hypno's Japanese name is Sleeper, which makes it sound hella creepy when you think you can be put to sleep by a sleeper. Yikes. According to its Diamond and Pearl Dex entry, Krabby has regenerative abilities, saying its pincers fully grow back if they are broken in battle. Or, if you want to get more graphic, Pokemon Y says, the large pincers grow back if they are torn out of their sockets. Torn. Ripped out. Rawr. I'm hungry. Cookie. Although Cloyster's Gold Dex entry states that once it slams its shell shut, it's impossible to open, Kingler's Pokemon Stadium Dex entry kinda contradicts that, saying that it is capable of prying open Shelders and Cloyster shells using 10,000 horsepower pincers, which really should be Rapidash power.
Voltorb, Voltorb, Voltorb.
Voltorb's Ruby Dex entry reads, Voltorb was first sighted at a company that manufactures Pokeballs.
Yeah, and what's your point?
The link between that sighting and the fact that this Pokemon looks very similar to a Pokeball remains a mystery, highly suggesting that Voltorbs are just mismanufactured or corrupt Pokeballs. Both Electrode and Voltorb are categorized as having a red body according to the Pokedex despite being half white. Oh, and fun fact, according to its gold dex entry, and I quote, "It amuses itself by exploding." Well, I guess if I could explode and live to tell about it, I'd find it amusing too.
Bulbasaur.
Execute is terribly confusing. It looks like eggs, but it's a grass type. Its species is the egg Pokemon. Its Ruby Dex entry states, this Pokemon consists of 6 eggs. So one might think, yeah, they're eggs. Then in its Fire Red Dex entry, it throws at you, even though it appears to be eggs of some sort, it was discovered to be a life form more like plant seed. Why do you do this, Pokemon? Executor. The Alolan version of Executor with the long neck/trunk was first seen in the Jungle expansion of the Pokemon trading card franchise. Right here. Cubone. Its original English name was to be Orphan, which only adds to the sadness of this little Orphan Annie's story. Marowak's Japanese name is Gara Gara, which is an onomatopoeia for bones clattering, which makes sense when you look at its species name of Bonekeeper Pokemon. Although thought of primarily as a kicking Pokemon, it can learn several punching moves through breeding and TMs, such as Bullet Punch, Focus Punch, and Power Up Punch. Way to break the mold, Lee. Way to break the mold. Hitmonchan, and Hitmonlee for that matter, have a gender ratio of exclusively 100% male.
Oh my god, that's sexist.
Lickitung in Generation 1 could not learn Lick, which is like, I don't know, its whole name and features and stuff. Silly Gamefreak. There are some depictions of coughing having gas-like hands. You can see this in the Pokemon Red and Green sprites, and sometimes in the manga. Wheezing. According to many Pokedex entries, there have been sighting of 3-headed Weezings. Does that mean there's a Mega confirmed? Or is it another evolution of pollution? What would we call it? Threezing? Hacking? In Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, when above 51% HP, Rhyhorn says, "I'm kinda very hard." Yeah, thanks, but I'm seeing someone. This, of course, is referring to its dex entry stating its bones are 1,000 times harder than that of humans. Rhydon can legitimately learn the HM serve despite being 4 times weak to water. Chansey's Japanese name is Lucky because you'd have to be hella lucky to catch one. This also explains all the items that are associated with it. The Lucky Punch, Lucky Egg, and Luck Incense. Tangela is the only pure grass type Pokemon in Generation 1. Kangaskhan, according to Ash's Pokedex, are in the Safari Zone because they are near extinction. Horsey is depicted in the anime and game as having only 1 fin, but in the original artwork of Ken Sugimori, it has 2. So far, Seadra is the only Pokemon capable of having the ability Poison Point without being poisoned itself. Goldeen in Super Smash Bros. Has no effect. This is a reference to episode 2 when there was a battle of Team Rocket in the Pokemon Center and courageously
Misty took to battle.
only to send out a Goldeen, which helplessly flopped on the floor.
Goldeen, 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 Goldeen.
Also, it should be mentioned that Goldeen can't even learn Splash in any Pokemon games. And to keep up with all the consistency, there is a Pokemon card in which Goldeen knows Splash. Oh, and it does damage. Way to stay consistent. In Pokemon Red and Blue Beta, Seaking was originally named Neptune, as a reference to the Roman god of the sea. Pretty cool if you ask me, because it could have been something really stupid like, I don't know, semen?
It's not semen, it's Seaman!
Staryu. Despite having no gender, this Pokemon can learn Attract in Generation 2. The name Starmie comes from its Japanese name of the same spelling, Star referring to its shape and Mii referring to the prized jewel of its life force. Here is a super fact about Mr. Mime. If you look closely at its Pokemon Red/Blue sprite, you can see it has a cigarette in its mouth. This was to represent a traditional French mime. It has since been changed and never realized again. Scyther! Its name in the English beta was Strike, in reference to his Japanese name of Strike. Jinx has no feet according to the Pokedex, Rather, they just float. However, it was depicted in the anime that they do in fact have feet. Whether they choose or not to use them is a whole other story. Electabuzz usually has 5 digits, but in the Pokemon Stadium game, they gave it an extra one.
Magmar.
Magmar's Japanese name is Boober, and before you get your mind into the gutter, no, it's not because its forehead makes 2 boobs. Jesus, I can't unsee that now. But rather because its design is partly based on the booby, which is a type of seabird.
I see zero resemblance.
Pinsir. Would you say Pinsir has horns or antlers? Antlers are found on cervids, are made of bone, are typically branched, and are shed every year.
Oh no! What? Oh my God! His antler. You just lost it.
While on the other hand, horns are found on bovids, are made of a bony core with a creatinine sheath, are not branched, and are a permanent part of the animal. The Pokedex seems to be divided on the subject, as in gold they call it horns, in silver they call them antlers. Either way it's strange, but they're monsters, so who the heck knows? Tauros. The episode of Ash catching Tauros was banned due to the involvement of guns. Fun fact, Brock was also involved in catching these Tauros, but whether or not he ever caught some or was just catching them for Ash was never addressed. Magikarp. Although Magikarp is thought to be the weakest Pokemon, you can find a level 100 Magikarp in Pokemon Platinum in the wild. Gyarados. In episode 244 of the US version, called Enlightened Up, there is a quick cutscene where it appears Misty sees a Mega Gyarados. This was back in 2002, 11 years before Mega Evolutions came to be. Lapras was originally depicted as having teeth in the original Gen 1 artwork and also in the Pokemon Adventure manga. The anime kept this kind creature toothless, perhaps to give it a more mild and caring nature. Ditto. All the Pokedex entries for Ditto talk about its ability to transform. And then there's Pokemon Moon's entry for Ditto, which talks about its breeding habits, saying, "It can get along with anything. It does not get along with its fellow Ditto." I guess Pokemon Moon would know what is going on at the daycare at night, if you know what I mean. Although depicted as a dog in the anime, it is quite a mix between a Fennekin fox, a dog, and a cat. This, of course, is more so realized in its evolutions. Vaporeon's Japanese name is Showers. Jolteon's Japanese name is Thunders. Flareon's Japanese name is Booster. Wait, what? Yep. Porygon is the only Pokemon thus far capable of evolving twice at level 1. Simply just trade it with the required items. Almanite's Pokemon Red and Blue beta names was S to match its evolution's names Cargo to become S-Cargo. Get it? S-Cargo? Omastar's Dex entry looks at the reason that it may have gone extinct. The Dex speculates that due to its heavy shell, it was not quick enough to gather prey. Aww, means the poor thing went extinct from hunger. Kabuto, according to the Crystal Pokedex entry, is at least 300 million years old. Sorry, buddy. Kabutops. Its pre-evolution beta name was At, and Kabuto's name is Lantis, to make the name of the sought-after lost ancient land of Atlantis. Aerodactyl. Its Japanese name is Terra, in homage to the Pterosaurus, which is loosely based off of. And yes, the P is silent. Snorlax. If Snorlax faints in Pokemon Stadium, its eyes open. It can also shoot freaking laser beams out of its eyes too. Okay, hyper beams. But still. Articuno. It can learn a 2-move, 1-hit KO combo of Mind Reader and Sheer Cold. Guess that's not really a 1-hit KO though, is it? Zapdos. Although people come down hard on Team Instinct, Zapdos has a type advantage over all other legendary birds. Moltres. A Pokemon card exists with all 3 of the legendary birds on it. Dratini. All variations of his name across the different languages have the same result of alluding to a small dragon. Japanese is Mini Ryu, French is Mini Draco, while Spanish, German, and Italian are all Dratini, which is dragon plus teeny or teeny weeny. Dragonair. This dragon Pokemon shares its name with a real-life airline in Hong Kong, China, Dragonite. If the Pokedex entry of Dragonite saying it can circle the globe in 16 hours is about the real world, it means Dragonite is able to reach a speed of at least 1,500 miles per hour, which is about twice the speed of sound in the air. Mewtwo. Mewtwo is depicted on the door of Bill's lighthouse in the episode Mystery at the Lighthouse. Does that mean that Bill knew about Mewtwo all this time? Also, notice what's beneath Mewtwo. Ditto. Although thought to be able to learn any HM or TM and moves by Move Tutor, there are moves that it cannot legitimately learn, such as exclusive moves like Draco Meteor, Hydro Cannon, etc. Subscribe for more fact videos.